Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Doe Show. We are here today with Melinda Brecheisen, she is a gold leader she actually is from California, but she lives currently in the UK. Hi, Melinda.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to have you on here because today we are going to be talking about StrengthsFinder. StrengthsFinder is talking about our strengths in general, is a concept that doTERRA kind of released to us at leadership last year. And we all took the quiz and found out what our top 5 strengths were. And doTERRA has been pumping out lots of great information on the doTERRA.com website about our strengths. But Melinda here is jumping on with me today to kind of go into a little bit deeper of the ideas behind StrengthsFinder and to help us navigate how to use this as we're building our business. So Melinda, I'm super excited to have you here.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself, if you don't mind. How long have you been involved with doTERRA and what's your connection to StrengthsFinder?
So I have been with doTERRA for just over 5 years, so quite a while now. And my connection with strengths is really being married to the strengths guy. So Jeremy's been with Gallup for almost 9 years now. And you can imagine what our household is like every day, having him come home from work. I mean, this is a strengths household. And after hearing it for so long, every day of my life, I wrote a book about it. It just made perfect sense for me to combine what I knew, what I loved, which is essential oils, with his passion, which is strengths. So I wrote a book called Anchor to Your Strengths, which actually pairs essential oils with each of the 34 strengths so that you can anchor that sense of smell to that specific talent theme and begin to wield them intentionally. And as I developed that book and that idea around that book, we really started incorporating strengths into our team and into our mentoring. And as that kind of grew, that's how we kind of got up into some of the presidential diamonds and doTERRA corporate, and we're able to then present strengths on a much larger platform 2 years ago in Salt Lake City for the main convention, and then last year at both leaderships. So that's kind of my background with strengths.
Wow, that is so interesting. I cannot imagine being married to the strengths guy. Be a fly on the wall. Now, do you guys have kids at home? I'm just curious.
Yes, we have 3 children. We've been married almost 19 years. Our children are 10, 14, and 16.
Wow. So I'm just imagining the life of your children at home with 2 parents that are highly knowledgeable about strengths and all that good stuff. It's like being in a military family, right? A lot of the principles that you would use are definitely, I'm sure, very thoroughly instilled in your children. So that's great.
They do make fun of us a lot, but one thing I've noticed is that my kids know their value. And in this day and age, to have teenage daughters who like themselves, I just pinch myself. It's such a blessing. It's so amazing.
Wow. So we could almost do a whole talk on parenting with strengths. Like, that would be really cool. Are there books on that sort of thing?
Yeah, there are. There's actually even an assessment called Strengths Explorer for children, because we don't want to pigeonhole children and tell them who they are too young. So they can take Strengths Explorer if they're under 14 years old, and it will help to guide them and help you, certainly as a parent, to know your children's strengths.
Wow, that's really cool. I like that idea. I'm definitely going to have to check that out. So doTERRA, you and your husband, total strengths people, you dove in, brought this to doTERRA. doTERRA released it. We all took the big quiz and found out our top 5 strengths last year. And what do we do now? Right? So I'd love to hear, and I know you want to share with us, because some people probably don't even know anything about strengths. So if you wouldn't mind, share with us a little bit about strengths, what the whole concept is about. And then, once you've got your name tag with your 5 strengths on it, like, where do we go from there?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so StrengthsFinder has been developed by Gallup, which is a research company. And throughout research, they saw these specific talent themes present in all human beings. And this assessment analyzes those traits within each person. So it's 177 questions. It usually takes about 30 minutes. And you're presented with these contrasting things. Like, an example might be you go to IKEA and you get a chest of drawers, do you start building it right away, or do you flip through the instructions and look at it and see how it's going to develop, and you pull out your screws and you line them all up and you make sure you have everything you need, and then you get started, right? Usually you're one or the other. So it's 177 questions just like that. It's not a smarts test, right? You don't have to know math. It's just, this is who I am. This is what I tend to do. And they're looking for patterns in your thoughts and behaviors. This is how you interact with the world. This is how you respond to relationships. This is how you execute activities. And at the end, you can either get your top 5 results, or you can get your full 34, which ranks all 34 talent themes from start to finish. So your top 5 would be the most dominant. Your bottom 5 would be the least patterned. And you can pay for either one or both, whatever. So oftentimes when people get this, there's usually 2 responses. One is, oh my goodness, this is so me, it's creepy. Or they're a little bit angry or in denial because they see those themes and they don't want to be that person. Or it's not that they don't want to be that person, it's that they have seen how those strengths may have been such a strong force in their life and they weren't using it intentionally. They weren't using it positively. And it might even be responsible for what they're most disappointed about with their life. So you usually get 1 or 2 of the extremes responses. And unfortunately, then sometimes people go home and think that was fun and never look at it again, right? It was like getting their horoscope or the fortune cookie out of the, after you eat your Chinese food. And that's what we don't want to have happen, because the whole point of this is, now that you know how you operate, now how you know what you naturally do anyway, how can you point that? How can you develop that and use it intentionally to get better results? Results being better communication in your relationships, understanding where people are coming from, knowing how to set yourself up for success, going into a class, going into a meeting, having a mentoring call. How can you use what you naturally do to get better results, to have that greater success? So it doesn't mean anything unless you actually dive in and start to use it on purpose. And so that's the first thing we want to do, is figure out how can we do it on purpose now that you have your results. The number 1 recommended thing to do first is talk about them, and not once and not twice, but 10 times. Again, Gallup is full of nerds and it's all about statistics. And this is the magic number, where if you have 10 conversations out loud about your strengths, you're more likely to start using them on a daily basis. So have the people around you take the test, take the assessment, so you can talk to them about the results. Here's my top 5, here's your top 5, and just laugh. Oh my goodness, you totally do that when you're in this situation. I totally see this in you over here. And just talk back and forth. It helps a lot to have people around you who know you, because they can help identify when you're using those strengths on a daily basis. So 10 times, 10 conversations. If it's with your spouse, it's okay if it's 10 times with your spouse. It doesn't have to be 10 different people. You're just going to have 10 conversations. And it will really help you see, this is me. This is what I do every day. This is where I naturally go to. This is the path of least resistance for me. And it helps to really solidify what it looks for you in your life. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to read that report that they send you when you get your results. This is not a report that everybody gets. Yours is customized to you with your results in mind. So it's not just a generic, this is harmony, so everyone has the same harmony thing. It's a report customized for you, talking about how your top 5 relate to each other, how they might interact with each other. And just take a highlighter and highlight every line that really resonates with you, because not every line has to resonate with you. Like mine, with my input, it said you might collect stamps or rocks. I don't collect stamps or rocks, but I do love complete collections. I have to have every doTERRA oil. Even when I lived in the US and I found out there was different oils in New Zealand, I had to get my hands on those oils. I just had to have the complete collection. It was really important to me to not have one missing. So it's going to manifest different ways for different people. I also hoard information. My input wants all the possible information. I have input and learner. So I read every single page of the policy manual when I first started doTERRA. Not many people will ever feel the need to do that. My input needed to do that, right? So how it looks for different people, it's going to be different. Highlight the ones that are meaningful to you. And don't worry about the ones that aren't meaningful to you. It's okay if you don't collect stamps and you have input. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it manifests differently for you. So that's two things that are super important to do right away. Talk 10 times and really study your report. The next thing you can do, which doTERRA has provided for us for free, is watch your strengths videos that they've provided for us. These videos were designed with Gallup scientists. So my husband Jeremy and I can't remember her name, it might be Claire, a really wonderful person at doTERRA, co-wrote them, and then they were given to the Gallup scientists for review to make sure it was all completely 100% scientifically based, accurate, these strengths themes. But they talk about, here's how you use that specific strength for your doTERRA business. It's that specific. It's not general anymore. It's how do you use that strength in doTERRA? Here's what it's going to look like for you. They give specific examples that show you how it might look like in a doTERRA business. They also tell you, here's some things you might want to look out for. For example, communication. That could be someone who is a great presenter and can tell a story that really moves the crowd to action. Or it could just be someone who took 10 minutes to talk about peppermint, right? And that should have been a 30-second, 2-minute conversation, right? And they just talk too much. So communication can be amazing, or communication can just be talking a lot. And so it gives you a few of those warnings. This is what you want to watch out for so that you're using that talent constructively and productively. So watch your 5 videos, watch your top 5 videos, and see how what you bring to the table makes you successful at doTERRA. This is also really good if you have someone you're mentoring. Go watch their top 5 videos. So when you're talking to them, all those ideas are in your mind and you can share them with them. Well, this is how your theme works for this. So when you do your class, why don't we set it up like this? Or how does this feel for you? Especially if it's a talent theme you don't have and you don't understand. This is going to give you a lot of insight into their personality and how they operate. So definitely check out the videos and start utilizing them for yourself when you're mentoring others. If someone comes to you and says, you know, I've got this talent theme and I don't understand, I think it's worthless, or I think it gets in my way, or I think it's bad, send them that video and show them how amazing that strength can be, right? Amazing tool that we have at our fingertips. The next thing is, and I just have a black and white copy here, I just printed it out on my printer, is the Strengths Guide for Builders. It's amazing. It's so thorough and so good. And there's even little tiny things hidden in it with quotes from presidential diamonds and links to videos where presidential diamonds, like this one says, watch how Gina Truman expands her network and invites by leveraging her strengths. And then it lists her top 5, and then there's a link to a video. So you can see how this presidential diamond applied her strengths to grow her business. This is amazing.
Where's that at? Where do you find that?
The Strengths Guide is on doTERRA.com under Wellness Advocates under Empowered You. Empowered You is where you'll find the strengths videos and the Strengths Guide.
Okay.
I think there's also a link to take the test there too, actually.
I've seen the videos and I have watched mine, but I haven't. I think I missed that Strengths Guide, so that's cool.
Yeah, it just came out at convention last month, or was that when was September? It just came out last September, 2018.
Okay, great.
All my months are blurred together. There's also some really neat things in here that would be so easy to turn into team building activities. If you were going to do a Super Saturday, if you just had your leaders with you for a weekend, whatever you wanted to do. One of the ones that I love, it talks about the 4 pillars of followership, which is the opposite of leadership, right? Everybody studies leadership, but what do followers want? And the 4 things that a follower wants is stability, hope, compassion, and trust. And there's a whole worksheet on that in this guide. And how fun would it be if you were with your team and you wrote those 4 words up on the wall, and then everyone rose their hand and said, well, my activator helps with trust because of this. My achiever helps with compassion because of this. My intellection helps with hope because of this. And everyone could see how their talent themes create these 4 words for their team. And this is what you need to be a leader. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be an aromatherapist. You don't have to have 100,000 people like you on Instagram. Every single one of us can create stability, hope, compassion, and trust with our talents. So this, I think, could be really powerful. So doTERRA really has provided so many tools for us to take it to the next level. On my website, which I can provide the link for you if you want, I do have free downloads. I'm not trying to sell anything. A mentor guide and a goal setting worksheet that both use strengths. I love the mentor guide because a lot of times when we are with someone we know, we have a tendency to put them in a cute box. We think we know them. We think we know why they do things, and we don't let them out of that box. And when you know their top 5, it really is opening. You get them out of the box and you see them in a whole different way. On the flip side, you now might be mentoring someone you don't know at all. It's a complete stranger. You've connected through a class or online. You've never met them before, and you don't know who they are and how they operate, and you don't have any box to put them in. But if you know their top 5, again, you know who they are. You know how they operate. You know what's going to give them energy. You know what's going to discourage them. It gives you this common language and common ground for every single person on your team. Now you have a way of connecting and knowing how to mentor them, even if it's a person who's so different from you or comes from a very different background or a different age or whatever it could be. This is common for all of us. And I love that about strengths. So this mentor guide, very simple. It's only about 5 questions, but it just keeps you pointed at the income producing activities in a very positive, strengths-based approach. And it can keep those phone calls to about 30 minutes. Sometimes our mentor calls can go for hours and hours. And when we're done, we're exhausted and we didn't actually accomplish anything. So this can keep it really focused, strengths-based, quick and effective. And then the goal setting guide, very simple. The more specific the goal, the more clear you can get. So if your goal is, I want to be diamond. Well, if you're an elite, we want to talk about premier. Okay, now that we have premier, we need 2 legs. Let's look at those legs. We have this leg, here's the deficit. This is how much volume we need. All right, we need to create this amount of volume this month. This is how many classes we need, right? You're going back down and down and down until it's so specific. And so it might be, I need a class in 2 weeks with 8 people. That's the next step for me. How can I do that with my strengths? So you write the goal, class, 8 people in attendance. You write your top 5 talent themes. And then you write a sentence or 2 for how each one of those is going to help you accomplish that goal. I'm going to use my XYZ to invite people in a way that's authentic and meaningful. I'm going to use this in the class to tell a powerful story. I'm going to, whatever it could be for you, get very specific, because I think people feel like they have to become someone new to do something they haven't done before, right? They get scared. I need to go change myself. I need to step up. And we get confused when we think step up, that means transform into some alien we don't recognize. And really, we have enough already in us. We just need to use it intentionally. And so your talents and your themes, when you use them to accomplish your goal, it's going to feel easier. It's going to feel more comfortable. You're not going to feel that resistance because you're doing it a way that you're already good at. It's the way you already interact with the world every day. And it becomes so authentic to you that you wake up excited and eager to get to work because you're in your zone of genius every day of your life. So this guide, and then the goal setting and the mentoring worksheet, all fabulous worksheets to help you, to kind of guide you down that path of using strengths in your business every day and making it natural. What I love too is that it's not extra work. You're already going to have to mentor. You're already going to have to set a goal. You're already going to have to teach class. So we're not creating more work. We're just going to be more effective with our work, which is another thing I love about strengths. So the last, oh, do you have a question? You almost looked like you were going to ask it.
I do. So I'm wondering, and I'll let you tell your next point first, but I'm wondering, I would just love to hear some examples of how you use this with your team. And I'm guessing that's probably where you're going to go next. So I'll let you finish your next point, and then we'll jump up. Maybe we could hear a little bit of that, because now I'm all intrigued. Now I'm like, ooh, the possibilities. I'm ideation. That's my number one. So
Oh, nice.
it's going back there.
Yeah, that's in my husband's top 5 as well. So yeah, there's many ways that I do this with my team. For example, in my mentor call, one of the things we'll talk about is what was your success for the week? What was something you did really well? And they might say, I had a really great class and I enrolled 3 people. Okay, how did your strengths affect that outcome? And I make them say it out loud, where they really have to think. Because a lot of times people say, oh, I was just lucky, or it just worked out, and that's not true. You did something to get people to get to that class. You did something to make them see the value of the oils, and you did something to help them sign up. You did that. If you weren't there, it wouldn't have happened. So take credit for your work, and then let's dissect it. How did your strengths make this happen? And really get them to voice that and say it out loud. It's very empowering when they realize, oh, I did this and I was good at it, which means I can do it again, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of having to duplicate these amazing, sparkly people that we can't be, or some of us can, but like I'm not going to go back to school and become a doctor. My upline's a doctor, right? I'm not going to become a doctor, but I can duplicate myself. If I see how I did that, I can do that again, and I was good at it, so I can keep doing that. Other things we do, like if we're posting it in our Business Builders Facebook group and somebody comments, I'll comment below and I'm like, oh my goodness, I see your positivity shining right now, right? So I'm constantly reconfirming to them that they're using their strengths all of the time and that it's a blessing to themselves and the people around them. So it's something we talk about, very commonly. It's just, how's the weather? How's your strengths, right? Like it's that normal for us to be pointing out each other's strengths as we're doing activities and really edifying those strengths within each other. Mm-hmm. We definitely do it on Super Saturdays, where sometimes we'll get 5 sticky notes and you'll put your top 5 on the sticky note, and then all along the wall of the building, you're putting your strengths up. You put your name on it and your strength, and you're putting it up and matching everybody. And then you have this wall and you see, oh my goodness, the majority of us are all achievers and we have very little people with empathy, or whatever it could be, right? It's a beautiful display to see how diverse you are and to see where as a team your strengths are and where you might need to manage things because it might be a lesser strength for your team. People aren't well-rounded, but teams can be. So it's fun, again, just to get that realization and see it visually, and also to see nobody's the same, but everyone's successful. doTERRA actually did that last year for leadership. They polled all of the blue diamonds and presidential diamonds with their top 5. Like, what are your top 5? To see if, do they all have achiever? Are they all achievers? Are they all futuristic? The executive team, I think almost every single one of them has belief in their top 5, which is startling that they all have something in common like that. It's pretty special, especially that it's belief is very special. But with the blue diamonds and the presidential diamonds, all 34 strengths were present. There wasn't any talent theme. Like, it wasn't like I'm harmony number 1. So I can't say, oh, I have harmony number 1. I don't have the strength it takes to be presidential diamond. There's nobody like there. No, there's a presidential diamond with harmony. There's a presidential diamond with every of the 34 talent themes. They're all present. You don't have to be one type of person to be successful in this business. So those type of conversations with your team leaders, showing them you have what it takes. Your talent themes are present with our blues and our presidentials. Your talent themes are present for in all fields, right? It's not one of those themes where you take a test and it says, oh, you should be a teacher when you grow up, or you should be a nurse. This isn't telling you what you can and cannot do. This says, when you decide what you're going to do, this is how you're going to do it, and you can be successful at it by using your talents and your strengths. So I love that. So there's so many things that you could be doing with your team to really edify and strengthen these talent themes. And then just some of the statistics would be, 3 times more likely to say that you have a higher quality of life. They have less sick days. They have less turnover. Your customers are more likely to recommend you. It just goes on and on. When we look at strengths-based companies and organizations, the benefits are endless. It's just a better way of doing things. So it can be really powerful for engagement and productivity and rank advancing because you're seeing greater results. It's just that simple. You get better results when you do it with strengths.
This is really cool. It's stimulating all kinds of ideas for me. So we're doing a 90-day push with my group, and it's a small group of people that are really pushing to reach goals. And honestly, a lot of people that want to go to leadership. So we're pushing through to January, and I'm thinking of so many ideas of that. Like I said, I took the quiz. I encouraged all my people to take the quiz. We did a fun post and everybody shared what their strengths were, but we really have left it there. So I'm really excited now to pick this up and kind of, even I'm just thinking in terms of this small mentoring group of just to go through with each of them and really dig in and find out what their strengths are and have them start emphasizing what those strengths are. This is so awesome. I'm so glad that we're doing this.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I think that's true for all of us. Like we just need to take it to the next level now, right? We've got our results, and now that doTERRA has provided the tools, we really got to start leveraging those tools and using them to our advantage. I think that's the next step for all of us.
Okay. Is there anything else that would be helpful to leaders or to people that are just getting started building their businesses, besides, watching the videos and kind of brainstorming how these strengths fit to us? Is there anything else that might be helpful to those that are just sort of dipping their toe in the water with this to move forward with?
I mean, the model is to name it, claim it, aim it. First, you have to identify your talents. Then you have to really take ownership of them. And then you need to point them in the direction of the activities that you're going to do in your business. So for the people who are just beginning, they just need to understand strengths, understand who they are, understand what it looks like on a daily basis for them. And then the next thing is to figure out how those talents are going to help them be successful at the activities they need to do. A wellness consult, a class, a mentor call, all of those types of things. And you can write that out. You could spell it out for yourself. You can talk to your mentor about those things. And then just that realization that when you do that, you're going to like your job a lot more. That it's worth the time to dig into those strengths and to incorporate them into your life, because you're going into your zone of genius. You literally don't think like anybody else on the planet. When we were little and our parents said, you're so special and you're one of a kind and you're the star and you're the princess, whatever, they were actually right. You actually are that special. I forget all the numbers right at the top of my head right now, but statistically speaking, I think it's like 1 in 300,000 that you're going to run into someone that has the same top 5 in the same order that you do. It's 1 in 1 undecillion that you will run into someone that has the same 34 in the same order that you do. Undecillion is not a made-up word. It's a real word. I think it's 26 zeros. There's only 8 billion people on the planet, which means there is nobody else like you. There probably has never been and never will be someone with the same order as you. Like the way your brain fits these things together is absolutely one of a kind. You're that unique and you're that special. And what you bring to the table, what you bring to doTERRA, no one else can duplicate. You can duplicate yourself over and over and over, and we can all tap into the same systems, right? The same pipes model. We can all do the same steps. But how we do it and how we connect with people really is unique and special. And you are the only one that can bring that essence into this world and into your business. And I just think that's so powerful for you to realize You cannot be replaced. You are that valuable. You are one of a kind. And that's kind of the note I want to end on.
That's beautiful. I love it. Very inspiring. And I hope you'll give us one more tidbit. And you mentioned it earlier and it got me curious. Should we take it again? I mean, what if you do 6 months or a year of really intensive personal development and you feel like you've changed a lot? Is there value in, retaking it every once in a while?
The short answer is no. The short answer is don't take it again. And the reason for that is the first time you take it, you're the most honest with yourself. This is what I do. This is what I don't do. After a while, and you understand the other talent themes, sometimes our bias kicks in and we think, I really want positivity. I really want achiever. I wish I had this one and that one. So then when you take the test again, that little brain is thinking, how should I answer this if I want positivity to end up in my top 5? Mm-hmm. And we're no longer being honest with ourselves. We're trying to steer it in a direction. And again, try to force ourselves into shoes that don't fit. So that first time is the most honest. There is an occasion where someone might want to retake it. Sometimes it's because they were in a really traumatic situation the first time they took it. And they weren't in their healthiest space. And they really feel now they are a much better, wholer person. And they want to see the results of where they are now. Or if something traumatic has happened, huge life changes, huge development in your life, you may decide, you know what, I really feel I'm a different person and I'm going to go in there and be as honest as I can, but I need to see who I am right now. But most of the time, 99% of the time, I'm going to tell people, no, you need to own your talents, own that top 5 and learn to love them and really embrace them. If you take it a bunch of times, you're just going to start picking and choosing, and I'm going to take 2 from this time I took it and these 2 from when this time I took it. And, or maybe those weren't valid, but these ones are valid. And now you don't know what to focus on. Now you've lost your focus. So that first time is usually the best time. And as far as when you should take it, if someone tells me they're going to build, I have them take it right away. Before even our first mentor call, that's their first assignment. Take the test, send me your top 5, then we'll set up our first mentoring call. And I make them pay for it. That's your choice. Everyone gets to choose. But I'm telling them to invest in themselves. And it's not that expensive. The price fluctuates. The cheapest price is always on Amazon if you buy the book and then go take the test with the code from the book. But I want them to invest in themselves and see the value of it and take it right away. I know there are some leaders who will like gift it to their leader when they hit elite or premier or silver. And I don't want to wait that long. I want to know who they are, because at our very first class we have together, I want to set them up for success with their strengths. For example, if someone has activator, they tend to want to teach right away. They tend to want to get going. They want to, here's the activities, let's get this going. But if I have someone with learner and deliberative, they really want to study, and they want to study for a long time before they feel safe being in front of a crowd. And if I don't know that when I'm setting up the first class, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to wonder why they're resisting me, why they're not picking up the phone when I call them, because they don't feel ready. But if I know what their talents are, I know how to set them up for success. So I help them right away. Like, it's the first thing we do with them.
Oh, that's intriguing. I did not expect that answer. I expected you to say, well, maybe every couple of years, take it again. So that's really cool, actually. I kind of like that idea, just to own your top 5 and go with it, and don't second guess or try to change it. I think the other thing that comforted me, because I didn't even know that ideation was a strength. I mean, I've always had a ton of ideas. I never recognized that until leadership, that was even a strength. It's just the way my brain works. I usually have a couple different levels of thinking going on all the time. Like, there's the way back there ideas that are sort of simmering, and then there's like this what's going on this week ideas, and then there's like what I'm doing right now with stuff going on. So that was really cool, and I like that. So the other thing is you do look at the list and think, well, if I had a little more woo, maybe I would be better at working with people, or if I had a little more of this, that. But what I did was I just unlocked the rest of the strengths. So I could see my whole list of 34. And then it sort of comforted me. Like, maybe it's not in my top 5, but my top 10, it isn't there. Those things that I felt like really, I thought would have been on my top 5. That was my other thing, is there's things I thought would have been on my top 5 and they weren't, but they're still there. And we still reach down and use those strengths. It's not like they're not a strength anymore because they're not in my top 5. So I would throw that out there for those of you that are a little disturbed or questioning why when you get certain results back, is that, I would have never thought, if you just verbally asked me what I thought my strengths were, first of all, it's kind of hard to do, to know what our strengths are. But I would have never thought that this way that I think about, and this way that I generate ideas, I would have never put that down as a strength. So I really appreciate the whole concept. And then I unlocked that 34. And then there were my other things that I thought I'm good at. They were still there. They were just a little further down the list. And there's unexpected strengths that were, that popped out in my top 5. So
I think that's so powerful what you just said. And I think a lot of times, and it might even be outside forces that have pulled us from our strengths, right? You might have had someone say, well, you just flip-flop. Why are you always changing your mind? They're not recognizing it as a strength. And so you might have thought that was something wrong with you your whole life. And so it is amazing when you realize, oh, that's my superpower. Like other people just look at this problem and can't find a solution. And I've already thought of 100, right? Like you really start to see why ideation is so cool. And it's amazing to me how many people will come up to me or my husband and say, for the first time in my life, I see my value. For the first time, they actually think I have a strength. I have 5 or I have 10, because absolutely, I was the same way. I thought for sure achiever would be in my top 5 and it wasn't. And then I unlocked my full 34 and it was number 6. And it was so validating for me to see it. But then it's also good to see your bottom 5, to see, I might need people to help me in this area because it's not what I naturally go to. It's not that I'm bad at it or it's a weakness. It's just not my natural go-to. So that's when I can lean on my leaders or my spouse or the people around me, or just make sure I'm not sabotaging myself by staying in that bottom area too long. So I agree with the full 34. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. And I think it helped me to have a little more compassion for myself, because what you just said a minute ago about how my brain is always moving on to those next ideas. Ideas is my thing. Brainstorming is my thing. And so, but it's also, I also have developer in my top 5 too. So my ideas do change and shift, and I'll try things out and it doesn't quite work. And then that part of me is always like, well, what would work? And just keep going. It's like undoing a puzzle. And so I always did think that I really was hard on myself, especially as a businesswoman in the last few years. I came up with these really great ideas, and they were great ideas, but they just didn't work for where I was at that time. So I didn't end up following through on those. And I really beat myself up. I really felt like, I don't follow through on what I say I'm going to do. I didn't do these things. I've told people that I want to do X, Y, Z, and then I didn't end up following through on it. I was really hard on myself. But when I get to this idea of strengths, it's helped me have more compassion for myself and to realize it's just part of the process for me. It is an evolution. And honestly, it makes me super grateful for my husband, because I dated people in the past who, sorry, I've got a hound dog back there. I've dated people in the past that when I would say an idea, they would do exactly that. Oh, you didn't end up doing that. So you're not really following through on this. But my husband is really great at what's the next thing how am I tweaking? I'm always tweaking and developing and moving on. And he's really great at just letting me do these things and letting me, my office, is a perfect example. I just repainted my office again. I had a whole studio in my basement that I was recording the Dough Show at. And I pulled things apart and I took furniture from other parts of the house and I did all this stuff and I put it all together. I shot 4 shows down there and I was like, well, this isn't going to work. So I ended up painting my office a second time. I just painted it a couple of months ago. I reconfigured everything. I pulled my desk out in the middle of my office, and now here I am shooting my Dough Show upstairs in my office now. And he's just like, he just shakes his head like he never knows what I'm going to come up with next. But anyway, that was a long story, but it just helped me to have a lot more compassion for myself, that, it's just part of my strength, that it does shift around and that there's an evolution to it, and that's okay. So I love the whole concept of it. And now I'm super excited. Thank you so much for sharing with us and encouraging us to dig back in and keep going with this. Don't give up on it. I feel like is a message that you've shared with us today. So
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure.
awesome. Okay. Well, if anyone wants, Melinda, can you share with us, what is your website? So people that do want to connect with you and maybe check out your book, check out your free downloads, where do they go for that?
anchortoyourstrengths.com.
Okay, and I will put that in the show notes if you're on iTunes, or in the comments if you're on YouTube, so you can follow us either way. And again, Melinda, I just think you're fabulous. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you at Leadership. And everybody, if you see Melinda or any of our guests on Dojo, feel free to run up and maybe don't hug them right off the bat. That could be weird, but give them tell them hi. And
I'll hug you. I'll hug you.
I'm a hugger. I come from family, we're all huggers, so I like to hug. So, but that's all part of building this community. That's what the Dojo is all about, is letting us each share where we're at right now, what gifts we have, what strengths we have, and literally for Melinda here. So I really appreciate it. So we will see you in a few months at Leadership. All right.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you so much.